I'm Gary Anthony Ramsay with your Hour News Now Rewind. Stories making headlines for the week ending June 4th, 2011. Our top stories include: while the president remains deadlocked with Congress on the issue of debt, unemployment jumps up again. Mitt Romney opens his bid for the White House with an Obama bash session. A study has reignited the debate over cell phone safety and a possible link to brain cancer. The U.S. questions the Haiti earthquake death toll. Shaquille O'Neal says goodbye to basketball. And 90 years later, we remember the Tulsa race riots. After House Republicans vote not to raise the limit on the country's debt, Barack Obama meets with GOP members in an attempt to break the stalemate. But the meeting seemed to do little to resolve the issue. Democrats want to raise the current debt ceiling from $14 trillion. Republicans say they will not do that without seeing significant cuts right now at the same time. The debt ceiling issue could cause the United States debt rating to drop, which would raise the rates on the money the United States borrows, thus increasing the debt even further. Meanwhile, unemployment numbers released this week show another jump in the jobless rate, back to 9.1% in the general population, 16.2% in the black population. The unemployment numbers have many analysts worried about a long-term stall in the economy. Former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney used the economy as part of his platform to launch his 2012 presidential campaign. During his speech in New Hampshire, the Republican blasted Barack Obama for not living up to his promises of getting the economy back on track. He also cited the president's lack of business and political experience. But Romney was quickly attacked by would-be Republican rivals who say his health care program established in Massachusetts was the model for the one created by the Obama administration. Well, a study released by the World Health Organization raises old concerns about the safety of cell phones and possible links to brain cancer. The group says it's putting cell phones in the same health risk levels as exposure to lead or to exhaust fumes from a car. But the study was not based on any new data, and they could not identify any spike in brain cancer diagnoses related to the use of cell phones. Well, the NAACP has filed a lawsuit against the city of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and several area businesses over what the group describes as a gross double standard concerning the event known as Black Bike Week. The suit says the businesses closed and police procedures changed during the event as opposed to what happens in the city during the Harley-Davidson week. The suit also says that despite fights and other problems reported during white biking events, no rules were changed and businesses continue to serve patrons. But despite having what it described as less recorded incidents during Black Bike Week, plaintiffs say the unwelcome mat was rolled out for them. The city representatives have denied having exhibited any hostility toward the event. In Atlanta, police say the death of an up-and-coming model appears to be a tragic accident as she and a friend fell out of a 10th-floor hotel room where her birthday party was underway. Witnesses told police that 30-year-old LaShawna Threet and a second woman were play wrestling in a room at the W Midtown Hotel in downtown Atlanta about 3 o'clock in the morning when they crashed through the window and fell 5 stories onto a slanted glass ceiling above a sunroom. Threet died at the scene. Her friend, 25-year-old Sierra Williams, remains hospitalized with severe internal injuries. In Texas and Wisconsin, governors signed new voter ID laws that some say are yet another attempt to intimidate minorities and keep them from casting ballots. The laws require that all voters show an official photo ID to cast a ballot. Kansas and South Carolina put similar laws on the books earlier this year. South Carolina was won by Barack Obama both in the 2008 primary and 2008 general election. In your Hour News Now World Wrap, the United States says the 250,000 number used to describe Haiti's dead from the devastating earthquake more than a year ago is excessively high. The large discrepancy came out in a report issued by the U.S. State Department. The document says the number of dead from the disaster is actually between 45 and 85,000. The high numbers were given by the Haitian government during the crisis, and they say they stand by their estimate of 300,000 dead. While not directly saying the Haitian government was lying, the authors of the report say that using a higher death toll attracts more international attention and aid. Billions have been sent to charities on behalf of the Haitian people, but to date, little has been rebuilt on the island nation, and more than 800,000 people remain homeless. The United States has also said it will not attend this year's United Nations Global Racism Conference because of what the administration describes as, quote, ugly displays of intolerance and anti-Semitism. The UN summit takes place September in New York and marks the 10th commemoration of the 2001 World Conference Against Racism that was held in Durban, South Africa. The U.S. also criticized the decision for holding the conference just days before the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. In Libya, Muammar Gaddafi makes a rare public appearance as he meets with the president of South Africa to discuss a possible end to the fighting there. But the talks seem to yield very little, as sources say that Gaddafi is determined to stay in his country despite international calls for him to leave. Libya has been in the grip of a civil war now for 2 months. NATO has provided a no-fly zone over the region, but forces on the ground appear to be in a stalemate. But Libyan officials continue to leave that country, as the latest is the oil minister to ask for political asylum. That's your World Wrap. In sports news, while the Miami Heat and the Dallas Mavericks renew their rivalry in the NBA Finals, an NBA great says his playing days are over. Four-time champion Shaquille O'Neal is retiring from the NBA after 19 years. The 15-time All-Star won 3 championships with the LA Lakers and 1 with the Heat. He made his announcement online.
19 years, baby. I want to thank you very much. That's why I'm telling you first. I'm about to retire. Love you. Talk to you soon.
The 39-year-old is 5th on the NBA all-time scoring list with 28,596 points and is second only to Michael Jordan in NBA Finals Most Valuable Player awards. In your Our News Now flashback, we remember the Tulsa race riots that took place 90 years ago this week. It all started with a still unclear encounter that took place between a black man and a white woman in an elevator. Her screams led to his arrest, but a headline in a Tulsa newspaper about the event stirred hundreds of white men to calls of a lynching. The accused, a man named Dick Rowland, was from the Tulsa suburb of Greenwood, known then as the Black Wall Street. It was an affluent, predominantly black neighborhood and considered one of the richest African-American communities in the country at the time. Black men took up arms from Greenwood to defend Rowland from lynching. The two groups collided near the courthouse, where a rolling gun battle started. Word quickly spread through the state of armed Negroes engaging white men on the street. The National Guard was called out, and it led to a full-scale assault on the small town of Greenwood.
I was only 5 years old. They came into our house and destroyed it at the same time they destroyed the Mount Zion Baptist Church.
Oh, it was pitiful. See, in fact, it just ruined us.
Buildings were burned by men on the ground and even from planes in the sky. In the end, more than 300 people were killed. 80% of Greenwood was destroyed. Thousands of survivors were placed in internment camps. Black Wall Street never returned, and most survivors left the community for good. Despite 2 government committee recommendations to do so, no reparations have ever been paid to Greenwood survivors. And finally, he was set free after spending 27 years behind bars on charges he says were trumped up by the LAPD and the FBI. But ex-Black Panther leader Elmer Geronimo Pratt has now passed away. Pratt died in a small village in Tanzania where he's lived for the past 5 years. Pratt was convicted of murdering a school teacher in Santa Monica back in 1972. Pratt claimed that he was in Oakland at the time at a Black Panther meeting, and he claimed that the FBI either hid or destroyed surveillance tapes that could have proved his innocence. His lawyers included the late Johnny Cochran, who won a second trial for Pratt after discrediting the reliability of the main police witness. Pratt was freed in 1997 and won a settlement against the FBI for $4 million. Elmer Geronimo Pratt was 63. For a complete check of any of the stories you've seen on The Rewind, go to the bottom of the webpage, find the link of the story you'd like to see, and click your way through. That's your Our News Now Rewind for this week. I'm Gary Anthony Ramsay.